Right, so somehow we've got to get to Miami from here. Panama City seemed a town perpetually on the edge of disaster. A great number of the inhabitants had emigrated to California during the gold rush 20 years ago. There was certainly not gold in Panama. It was a nowhere town, so steeped in immigrant cultures and influences that it had no true character of its own. It felt precarious, in some respects unfinished. Of course there was the canal. The French had bought the rights of the construction from the Colombians, but quickly ceded those rights to the Haitians after disease decimated their engineering corps. The Haitians now virtually ran the city with their foreign wealth. So the local rumour went, the blood-drinking Roudon machines they used to dig up the canal. I could not help but be curious, in particular about the Haitian sorcerers, or alas, the mystical Haitian cabal looked rather more like a group of canal diggers, covered in the dust of hard labour, not a strangled chicken or sacrificial offering in sight. Great quantities of stone and dirt were being thrown into the air, undercut by the whistle of steam escaping and boilers rumbling. Fine machinery, elephant-sized steam shovels painted bright red and blue, dyed rooster feathers adorned the boiler, and a single operator sat in the carriage to control the winch, boom and bucket. I was accosted by a tall, sharp-eyed fellow in a pin-striped suit, glaring at me. You are to watch or work. I am looking for airships, I told him, and he spluttered a laugh. No airships here. We're making a canal for boats, obviously. I was told there was something here that flies, I persisted, hoping not to be disappointed. You should ask Fanchon, he said. She's our great inventor. He nodded towards a tall black woman who was checking the fuel barrels, occasionally dipping a finger into a tarry black substance and tasting it. But enough talk, time to dig. I examined the levers closely before selecting the most worn handle and easing it forward. The winch squealed and began to raise the boom with a vibration that I could feel in my bones. After a few cautious experiments, I fell into a rhythm, raised the bucket, scooped the packed earth, unload and rumble forward. "You are a born excavator," Gesner showered me with praise. "You are sure you have not done this before?" As I worked, I saw the woman with Fanchon move away from the site. If she was an artificer, perhaps she would be useful. But my shovel would not be stopped or slowed, and I worked into the night. Why am I working into the night? Okay. Shall I wait for the market? I'll wait for the market, and then I will, explore. Okay. Right. Oh my god. How have I got a... What? Oh, that's the one... Whoa! Rio de Janeiro. Sugar cane. Hand mirror. Fake passport! Ah, this is all too exciting. So, I'm probably not going to Canton, but who knows where else that'll be. Hong Kong, probably not going there either. I may not have planned all this wonderfully. I may be travelling by flying. Is Port-au-Prince near here? I don't even know. I'm just going to explore. Okay, Panama City goes those two directions. One up, one down. Is that it? Are there no... During the day, I strolled the streets only to find myself face to face with Fanchon, the engineer. Gesner had pointed it out to me at the works. "Ah, a visitor from France," she smiled lopsidedly. "Have you come to take back your canal? It will not be so easy." She raised her fists playfully. "I was told you were leaving town," I said. She nodded. "I am indeed. I have a..." "Ah," she smiled, "a little craft of my own devising. But it needs a few parts. You know how these things are." "What kind of craft?" I asked, intrigued. She shrugged. "It is kind of a bird," she replied, "but she is, you might say, injured at the moment." "My master and I are going around the world," I declared. "How exciting for you," she replied, though I do not think she meant it, and her eyes were moving away into the middle distance. "Perhaps we could travel with you," I asked. "When is your craft repaired?" She looked at me as though judging my character by inferring the way my parts fitted together. "As I say, it will take some time to repair, or some manpower. Time and manpower, they are both realized by one thing." "We are but simple travellers," I told her, "and I am a simple engineer with sadly expensive tastes in the parts I use." She named a figure, and it made my eyes water slightly. "Well, I will ask my master," I muttered, and crept quickly away. "Very good," she replied. I bid Madame Fanchon goodbye, at least until we decided whether we could afford such help as hers. I made my way back to Master Fog, only to find myself accosted by a group of Panamanian dynamite blasters. Okay. They were a mix of city boys and Choco immigrants from the villages, united by their dislike of the Haitian digging crew. They seemed keen to talk. "You made a good choice refusing the Haitian devil," Chafil, the unofficial leader of the blaster crew, patted me on the shoulder. "Their machines drink blood." "They run on ordinary fuel, I am sure," I corrected, "just like all machines." "They guard that fuel like gold, and nobody knows what is in it." Chafil shared a dark look with his companions. "We are leaving Panama before our blood ends up in a vat. You should leave too, if you have any sense." "Where are you headed?" "We are making for Tabatinga in the Amazonas." Chafil gave me a considering look. "We may have some space for men of talent and determination." I considered their offer as I headed back to my lodgings. Men who spent their days blasting through mountains could prove to be useful travel companions if we wished to head into the interior of this vast continent. Okay. So she goes up to Haiti, and he goes down to Tabatinga. Right. So what are my options now? So, whoa, that's a lot to go up to there. Acapulco, I can go up to. Maybe I should have just stayed there. How do I get to Miami? I can get to that from Havana. And this is just going entirely the wrong direction. So, I think I will just take this. Let's go. Let's just go. I'm leaving here. This place doesn't seem safe to stay, to be honest. One could hire a caleche to travel the length of Central America, along which a good quality road had been established. There was only one curiosity. There was no driver. The carriage itself ran on a system of wheels, cogs, and leather straps. "Do you suppose it is safe?" I asked Monsieur Fogg. He glanced around the city we are leaving. "No more or less safe than anything else," he replied, "and it will, I am sure, be fast." Huh. Well, that was fascinating. So I'm going down all of Central America on an automatic car. On the map, the road to Acapulco seems to trace a hairline route along the curve of Central America, and I half expected the caleche to teeter left and right between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. In reality, of course, the geography is much more expansive, and so instead we rode through long grasslands that flowed down the sides of mountains. The steering was automatic, another plus since I did not want to take responsibility for driving at such speed. A gauge, installed by the crafty builders of the mechanical horse, showed the distance to our destination, as computed by the remaining steam pressure in the engine, which, I realized, meant that, should we be hit by an unexpected delay, we might well run out of oomph before reaching our destination. We rattled along in this contraption, my master and I, for once absolutely alone. It still hasn't really got above 50. Ugh. This is alarming. On our second day, the carriage screeched to a sudden halt. Someone had laid a log across the road. I looked about before getting out, but saw nothing of interest besides shrubs, rocks, and dust. Monsieur Fogg looked at me expectantly. He was right, of course. There was no option. I got out, and as soon as I was in view, I heard a shout. "Don't move! We're taking your vehicle!" "Show yourselves!" I called back, whirling about. "I am unarmed." A lone figure rose from behind a rock, sighting along the barrel of a gun. "Just want the vehicle," I called in a thick Mexican accent. I apologize, I cannot do a thick Mexican accent. "Don't want to hurt you, but I will." "Where are you going?" I demanded. "Perhaps we can give you a ride." The figure took a few tentative steps down the hillside. That was when I noticed Monsieur Fogg creeping along through scrub around the back of the caleche. I decided to keep the figure talking. "You must have been waiting here a long time," I said. "We have water. Surely you are thirsty." "What do you care if I am thirsty?" demanded the figure. Monsieur Fogg was creeping ever closer. "I'm a valet," I replied. "Of this welfare is my stock in trade." Monsieur Fogg had now scrambled a little way up the mountainside and was behind the figure. What his plan was now I could not guess. I could hardly imagine him braining the bandit with a rock like a caveman. I reached into the carriage and brought out a carafe. "Water!" I called. "Quite safe." I saw movement behind the figure's bandana, a licking of lips. At that moment, Monsieur Fogg stood up directly behind the figure. I covered my eyes, expecting violence, but he only spoke. "Now then," the master said sensibly, "perhaps we can all get on with our journey." The figure whirled round to face Monsieur Fogg, and I called for calm. "We can all travel," I declared. Travel together, I declared. Peaceably. The figure shook his head and stepped towards the caleche. "I am taking your carriage. Now get that tree trunk out the road." We sat down and did nothing. The bandit stared at us down the barrel of the gun, then lowered it. "Very well." She pulled the kerchief from her face. "We will travel together. Now help me, damn you." We agreed and moved the log aside. Together we moved the log from the road and all boarded the caleche and rode in stony silence to Acapulco. Great. We have company at least. It's not just us two. We completed our ride into Acapulco. The lady's name was Catalina Barraza, and she was going nowhere. Said she was running away. From what? The working conditions in the factory where I am employed. I hear there is a better life to be had in Acapulco, and I no longer care not to try it out. "Then I wish you luck," I replied, because I did not think things would be any better there. We rode the rest of the way in silence and were grateful to disembark the caleche and stretch our legs. So, is this city still under siege? Interesting. Port-au-Prince, Mate, sugarcane. Taking the sugarcane. Now let's explore and see if we can get any further. The French had tenuous hold of the Mexican port of Acapulco. The bay was crowded with ships firing upon each other. The airships rained fire and misery down upon slope-roofed buildings. French soldiers fought Mexicans in the smoke-wreathed streets. We decided to explore the city, the better to find a way to leave. We headed away from the fighting to the outskirts of the city. A risky venture, considering our white skin would mark us as foreigners in a besieged city. Still, I had little desire to set myself between two armies, and I hoped we could avoid the clash of soldiers altogether. We had not gone far before we were scooped up by a Mexican patrol of irregulars led by the smiling Madame Gonzalez Pena. "You don't look like French army," she remarked in Spanish with a look of surprise. "We are travellers," I explained, really caught up in the unpleasantness. The craven siege of a Mexican city by French aggressors is This what you mean by unpleasantness? She raised an eyebrow, hefting her rifle with practised grip. I nodded in agreement. It seemed the politic thing to do. Madame Gonzalez Pena was, it turned out, a certified doctor, and there wasn't a siege unfolding. Directed us to a makeshift hospital set up in one of her friend's villas. How can we leave this city? I demanded. There are automatic carriages, even airships heading north, she replied. You should avail yourselves of them. Leave this place before our reinforcements arrive, for they will not welcome you. Feeling rather as if she had understated the matter, I resolved to take her advice and leave Acapulco as soon as we could find the means. Okay, so there's San Francisco, San Pedro, Acapulco, and Houston and New Orleans. Let's go to Houston if we can. When does this leave? Tomorrow at 5 PM. Can it leave? Could leave today, but I can't really afford it. Okay, we will have one night's sleep in the hospital. We stayed the night in a villa run by a local woman whose instinct for business had survived even the conflict raging on the streets. It was comfortable enough, though the sounds of explosions made me lay awake at night. Okay, we're going to Houston. Let's go. Sorry, Fogg. I know I'm not being the best valet so far. You're getting very roughed up. The clash we found was not automatic, but occupied by one Monsieur Jameson, American missionary, and Madame Amadine Jameson, his white French Creole wife. I don't know who you fellows are, Jameson cried as he clambered aboard amidst the sound of gunfire, but get yourselves aboard, won't you? We did not need to be asked twice. Right, look after Fogg. Definitely look after Fogg. We fled Acapulco by caleche, all of us, clinging to our leather seats as the mechanical horses breathed steam into the air. I am grateful to be away from Acapulco. I cast a nervous glance backwards, towards the besieged, smoke-wreathed city. You should give your thanks to God, Monsieur Jameson said decisively, looking as though he were about to force me to my knees then and there. Madame Jameson lifted her hand and made a mocking face behind its shield. I had to look away lest I laugh. To avoid any further temptation, I spent the rest of the day silent, watching the landscape as we wound our way north to New Orleans. We're going to Louisiana. Both Monsieur Fogg and Monsieur Jameson were sleeping when Madame Jameson reached her hand out to me. I took it automatically, and her fingers tightened around mine and then stroked very deliberately down my wrist. I shivered. I felt her sigh and relaxed into her seat, though her hand was entwined with mine. Her husband snorted in his sleep, but she ignored him. I feel, Madame Amadine said into the air, very alone sometimes. When you speak, I can imagine that I am a young girl walking down the Champs-Élysées in Paris, without any cares. She said nothing else, and we stayed like that until our companions awoke many hours later on arrival into Houston, where we departed quite promptly. That was a nice little moment, I think.